Alrighty, project time or continuation of project time. A few months back I started a project called the Big Mystery Build with the objective of hopefully somebody saying, I know what it is. Now there's no prizes involved if you guess right. But after a couple more videos, if someone doesn't say, well then I'll just have to break down and say what it is. But in the meantime, in that video, right after I piled up a whole bunch of parts, I branched off into a side project, or what I refer to as a squirrel. That squirrel being a heat set insert tool. And sort of partway into that when I branched off into another very brief project, which was nothing more than putting a drive tire on a bandsaw, and that squirrel had absolutely nothing to do with the heat set insert tool or the Big Mystery Build. So now we're into side project number 3, and this one, well, it's going to have something to do with pretty much every one of my projects, at least anything that I build on my table here so that you can actually see it. So in squirrel number 3, I'm going to build a studio light. I'll build more than one of them, of course, but for the sake of this video, I am going to assemble one before your eyes. But in the meantime, I am wanting to cut some of the parts out on my CNC machine, so I need tool paths, which means I need to create a drawing. So I'm using Freecad 0.21.2. Previously, I had used version 20, which is ever so slightly different than version 21, so you're going to see me learn how to use it, and I might get confused when they've moved stuff from one place to another, as programmers generally do. So let's create a new project. And I can see that the cube is a little bit different. I don't know if it really functions any differently, but let's just select the top surface, my preference to work on. And I'm going to name this the Studio Light End Plate. I won't talk all through the video because I'm sure you'll find that annoying. But now we're in the part design bench. Normally it's not there, but that's where we are now. And so we need to create a body. And within that body I need a sketch. And since I'm going to want to work looking down at my part, I'm going to pick the XY base plane. Going to drag this down here like that. I always put my origin on the CNC machine in the lower left. It just keeps me from getting confused. The middle of the project, which many people use, is fine for other people, but not for me. I'm just going to check if the snap to grid is on, and it is. And this is something that the programmers changed in this version. Originally, when you wanted to turn snap on and off, you had to go up to Edit, Preferences. I prefer it here. So let's start drawing. It's going to be a simple object. Now you'll notice that I set it to reverse. This is because I like the top surface of my project to be 0 on my CNC machine. It just makes it so much easier for this muddled mind to figure out when working with depths and so on. Now this is the end plate. There is going to be a pair of them per light. There will be vent holes around here and 3 control will be located here. They'll be for the colors of the lights that'll be inside, just to make them warm white or cool white. You get the idea. So I need shaft holes for the controls and recesses for the control knobs. And no, there's not exactly a single standard for potentiometer mounting shafts. I've seen references to 6 millimeters in diameter, 7 millimeters in diameter, 8 millimeters in diameter, and one ancient potentiometer I have in my junk box. The shaft mounting is 9 millimeters in diameter, so I'm going to go for 8. What the heck? Program will automatically convert between inches and millimeters and inches. Very convenient. The eagle-eyed among you will notice I've made it 0.49 of an inch in depth instead of 0.5 or half an inch. Prime reason behind this is that I need to be able to select that surface at the bottom there when I am making my pockets for my tool paths. If it goes down to half an inch, that means there is no bottom to select, which makes pocketing a little difficult. So we've got our 3 shaft holes and our 3 knob recesses. Now we need some vent holes up here. And there we have the outlines anyway for our vent holes. So we need now to make a toolpath for this so that the CNC machine knows where to cut. Let's pocket these. Well, it looks great like this, but the CNC machine can't do anything with it yet. So let's go over here, and we need path, which is our tool path. And we need to create a job. We're going to select this, which is our body. And now we can see we've got this, which sets our material size, basically. And my material is going to be a bit wider in each direction than the object, so let's add a 1/2 inch to each. And we're going to set this to 0 because our stock is going to be perfectly even with the object. So that's our material setup. Now we need a tool, which is going to be a 1/4 inch end mill, and I'm going to get rid of the default tool. Don't necessarily have to do that, but I will. And we need to edit the tool to tell it how fast to cut. So we're going to go meters per minute. Now I may change this later because I may find that it's just too slow. Cancel. Let's try this again. We want millimeters. Thank you. I don't know why I did that. Let's try that again. There we go. And the spindle's lowest speed is 8,000 RPM. I'd like to be able to go slower, but I can't, so 8,000 RPM it is. Only cutting plastic this time, so I'm not too worried, although it may get a little warm. Now we have to pick a place to output our file. I'm keeping this in downloads right now. We're going to call this and then we have to pick what the controller is. The machine controller in this case is Gribble, or some people call it Gerbil. There we go. And now we have job listing available here, and there's nothing under operations at the moment, so we need to go in and create our operations. I'm going to start there. I select the disk at the bottom there, and I'm going to go pocket. And you can see it shows face 26. Nothing in extensions that we need to change. I'm going to do a .1 millimeter final step down. And here I'm going to select 2 millimeters as my step down. I think a 1/4 inch is a little bit too much. The rest of the numbers don't need to change. Don't need to worry about heights. Operation, where you're doing the 1/4 inch end mill. I am going to set this to conventional offset. I'm going to set to 25 there. And you can see now that it's very difficult. Let's zoom in. There's a bit of a helix there, which is going to be the cutting down of the hole. That's where the end mill will carve down. So we need to select another one. Let's do this one. Again, it's a pocketing operation. Base geometry is set. I always go in and check and make sure. I'm going to set this to 0.1 millimeters again. Just a final finishing step down. And this one I'm going to set to 2 millimeters again. Like I said, I think 1/4 of an inch at a time is just a little bit much. I'll shut up now. Okay, that's all the pockets done. Now we need to route around the edges. So we're going to do a profiling operation, and we need to select the outside edges. So here's our profile. Says the faces are selected. Depths will leave the same. No, we're going to change that. Again, I don't want 1/4 of an inch step down. I think that's a little deep. The rest of these, the final depth. Operation is an outside operation. The rest of this can stay the same. And you can see now we have lines surrounding the outside. Let's do a simulation, shall we? So this icon is a simulation, and we've got a whole bunch here. So I'm going to test them out one at a time, but we need to unselect them. And I'll speed this up again a little bit. A little slower here. And here we go with the sim. That looked good. Let's try the second one. Outside is looking good. Okay. Okay, the simulation looked good. There's just one thing left to do. I need to select the profile, again, our outside cuts, and right-click on it and select Tag. Now you'll see all of a sudden these little green orbs have appeared here with a little bit of a distortion in our lines. That's because what will happen if I don't put a tag in here, this centerpiece could break loose from our stock, and that would ruin the cut, and depending on the material, might break the bit as well. So these tags are just a little bit of material that's left between the object and the stock. Now these are going to be a little bit big, so let's change the output to width to 1/4 of an inch. Height to about 0.15. That's good. Let's apply. And they're about what I would hope they would be. Now it's time to do a simulation again. And I am going to just tilt it a little bit there. And I only want this last one. It now says dress up tag instead of profile. That's quite correct. And here we go. And that looks good. You can see, if I just bend this up a little bit, you can see the 4 tags that have been left behind. Now you can change the number of tags from 4 to 2 or 4 to 6, whatever you want, but it looks good. Just one thing left to do. We need to select operations and create a path file, which is post-processing for the CNC machine. We call it Studio Light End Plate again. And there you can see our G code for all of our cuts. Click OK. And that's it. There's only one thing left to do. Throw it onto the machine and see what happens. In addition to being ready to take this to the CNC machine, this is the end of this particular video. It's gotten really long right now, so I'm going to carry on with this into another video. It won't necessarily be the next video, because I have to pull the CNC machine out of storage, take it to the workshop, finish what I'm doing, and then take it back to storage. See you later.